"Your card's been declined." That's all the text said. Vanessa read it twice in the school pickup line, then called her husband. He answered like he'd been waiting. "I locked it," he said. "Talk to my mother." She didn't argue. She didn't cry. She just turned the car around and drove to her bank. What neither of them realized was that the account they'd frozen was the smallest thing she owned. Vanessa Reyes had spent 16 years being the quiet one. A senior financial analyst by day, she'd built her family's entire safety net without ever asking for credit. Her husband, Daniel, ran a landscaping business that looked successful from the outside, but she was the one who'd kept it alive through 3 rough winters, using money he never even knew she had. 2 years earlier, Daniel's mother, Rosa, moved in after his father passed. Grief made her sharp. Slowly, Rosa's opinions became rules. A grocery bill here, a birthday gift there, every purchase got weighed and judged, and Daniel, instead of defending his wife, started agreeing with his mother instead. It came down to a laptop. Their son's computer had died mid-semester, so Vanessa bought a replacement. Nothing extravagant, just necessary. Rosa saw the receipt before Daniel got home from work. By the next afternoon, the two of them had made a decision without her. Freeze the card, teach her a lesson. They expected tears. They expected a fight. Instead, Vanessa sat in silence for exactly 10 seconds, then said 4 words. "Understood. I'll handle it." And hung up. What Daniel didn't know, what he'd never bothered to ask, was that his wife's paycheck wasn't their only income. For years, Vanessa had quietly funneled money from a personal investment account into his business every time cash got tight. Payroll gaps, late invoices, a tax penalty that nearly cost him his license, all covered, all invisible, all hers. At the bank, she didn't raise her voice once. She simply began undoing 16 years of silent generosity. Her direct deposit redirected, her personal accounts sealed off, her name removed as guarantor on his business credit line. Every signature was a boundary she should have drawn years earlier. "Is this a divorce?" the branch manager asked gently. "I don't know yet," Vanessa said, "but I know I'm done disappearing." She drove home to a quiet house and said nothing. She didn't have to. By 6 that evening, Daniel's phone was ringing nonstop. Payroll hadn't processed. The business account was short. His accountant wanted to know where the usual transfer had gone, the one that had appeared like clockwork for years, the one nobody had ever asked about until it stopped. He burst through the front door, pale and sweating, phone shaking in his hand. "The mortgage payment is pending," he said. "I know," Vanessa answered calmly and set down her coffee. For the first time in their marriage, he looked at her like he didn't recognize her, because for the first time, he was finally seeing her clearly. She didn't yell. She walked upstairs and came back down with a gray file box. 16 years of records labeled and organized like she organized everything. Tax filings, wire transfers, a down payment on their cabin paid from her inheritance. Proof, folder by folder, that the marriage he thought his mother's money mattered had been quietly carried by his wife's the entire time. Rosa tried to argue that helping wasn't controlling. Vanessa looked her in the eye. "I agree. That's exactly what I did for 16 years. What you did was something else." Their daughter, watching from the doorway, finally spoke up, telling her grandmother gently but firmly that she'd seen the criticism all along. Daniel had no response, just silence, and the slow, sinking realization of everything he'd taken for granted. It took months, counseling, hard conversations, real boundaries, before trust came back. Daniel apologized, not to end an argument this time, but because he finally understood what he'd done. Rosa found purpose outside their marriage instead of inside it. And a year later, on their anniversary, Daniel slid a new credit card across the table, not because Vanessa needed one, but because, he said, "This one's about trust, not spending." She hadn't gone to that bank to punish anyone. She went to protect her own dignity, and that, in the end, was worth more than any apology. She didn't destroy her family to save it. She simply stopped hiding the fact that she'd been holding it up all along.